with that song.
I'm in love with that song.
Oh, I love that song.
I love that song.
I'm in love with that song. I love that song.
I'm in love with that song.
Greetings, fellow travelers in the road from yesterday to today. You've crossed the bridge into the Pantheon Podcast Network, and your path has brought you here to the I'm in Love with That Song podcast. My name is Brad Page, and each edition of this show, I rummage through my music library and pick one of my favorite songs, and we explore it together. Not in a technical way. We don't get into music theory here. We're just listening in a way to uncover those little nuances, those magical moments that make it a great song. The history of modern music, especially rock music, is replete with brilliant guitar players. So many great guitar players. We've celebrated some of them here. From the earliest sounds of rock and roll, the guitar and the men and women who wielded them demanded attention, playing louder, faster, pushing the boundaries of creativity and sonic exploration. Even today, when the guitar is not the ever-present driving force of the music business the way it used to be, there are still plenty of players making an exquisite racket with this infernal instrument. In some ways, guitar heroes were a dime a dozen. There's never been a shortage of guitar players, even now. Many of the greats are still celebrated today, but many more are overlooked or just plain forgotten. Well, on this episode, we're going to shine a light on a player who was one of the biggest guitarists of the 1970s. He's not a household name now, but guitarists still hold him in high regard. This is Robin Trower with a song called Day of the Eagle.
I saw a light just up ahead, but I couldn't seem to rise up on my bed. I'm not alone, and then I am. These people seem to think I'm Superman, but I want for the love. I'm living in a day of the eagle of the dove.
We'll be right back after this. Robin Trower was born in March 1945. He was born in London, but during his childhood, his family lived in Canada and New Zealand before moving back to London when he was about 8 years old. In his teens, he started playing guitar, largely influenced by Cliff Gallup, Steve Cropper, and B.B. King. He formed the Paramounts with some friends, including keyboard player and vocalist Gary Brooker. They mostly played R&B covers and had a minor hit with their cover of Poison Ivy.
She comes like a rose, and everybody knows. She gets you in touch. You can look, but you better not touch. Poison ivy, poison ivy. Late at night while you're sleeping, poison ivy comes a creeping around.
The Paramounts eventually split, and Brooker went on to form Procol Harum, who had a big hit with A Whiter Shade of Pale in 1967. When their guitarist, Ray Royer, left, they asked Robin Trower to join. Robin played with them from 1967 to 1971, appearing on their first 5 albums, though he's not on Whiter Shade of Pale because that was recorded before he joined. But by 1971, Trower was looking to move on. He was writing more of his own songs. Procol Harum was dominated by the songwriting of Brooker, Keith Reed, and Matthew Fisher. There just wasn't room for Robin Trower's songs. Also, Procol Harum was a keyboard-based band, and Robin was itching to play more guitar-focused music. So he left Procol Harum and put together a band named Jude, a four-piece featuring Frankie Miller on vocals, ex-Jethro Tull drummer Clive Bunker, and James Dewar, who had been playing with Stone the Crows on bass. But this lineup didn't work out, and it fell apart before they ever recorded anything. So Trower decided to form a power trio, following the example of bands like Cream. Besides playing bass, James Dewar was an excellent vocalist in the Jack Bruce mold, so he took over lead vocals, and they brought in Reg Isidore on drums. The trio of Trower, Dewar, and Isidore released their first album, Twice Removed from Yesterday, in March 1973.
With the world beneath our feet, and the sun smiled on the water, where the skies and the ocean meet.
By this time, Robin was very inspired by Jimi Hendrix, as you can certainly hear on that track. The Hendrix influence is probably most direct on this first Robin Trower album, but the general Hendrix style would remain a part of Trower's sound. The band returned to the studio in late 1973 to record new material, which would become their second album, Bridge of Sighs, the album that many would consider their peak. It would be their commercial breakthrough and is still Robin Trower's most popular album today. The album was produced by Matthew Fisher, Robin's old buddy from Procol Harum, and it was engineered by Jeff Emmerich, the legendary engineer who worked with the Beatles, among many, many others, and is really the one responsible for the incredible sound of this album. Day of the Eagle is the song that opens the album, side 1, track 1. It was written by Robin Trower and performed by Trower on guitar, James Dewar on vocals and bass, and Reg Isidore on drums. The basic tracks were recorded live in the studio, rhythm guitar, bass, and drums. They nailed it in about 2 or 3 takes. The lead vocals and lead guitar were overdubbed shortly after. The song begins with a heavy guitar riff accented by the snare drum, then the bass joins in for the second half of the riff. Let's hear just the bass and drums there. Let's talk about Robin Trower's guitar sound. He's using 2 Marshall 100-watt amp heads with 2 4x12 speaker cabs. He's playing a Fender Stratocaster. It's just a stock Fender Strat, but one of the unique things about Robin is that he favors the middle pickup. Most guitarists don't really use the middle pickup much at all, but Robin prefers it, and that does contribute to his sound. Another highly identifiable thing about Robin's sound is the use of a Univibe pedal. It creates that swirling fluid sound, and he uses that a lot. On this track, he's also using a homemade booster pedal, which allows him to drive the amplifier that much harder. There's no distortion pedal or fuzz box in use here, just the amps cranked up and that boost pedal pushing the sound into overdrive. Here's the first verse, James Dewar on vocals.
I saw a light just up ahead, but I couldn't seem to rise up on my bed. I'm not alone, and then I am. These people seem to think I'm Superman.
Let's back it up and listen to those vocals.
I saw a light just up ahead, but I couldn't seem to rise up on my bed. I'm not alone, and then I am. These people seem to think I'm Superman, but I was for the love. I'm living in the day of the eagle, not the dove.
I'm living in the day of the eagle, not the dove. That's pretty much the chorus. They return to the riff and then the second verse. Let's pick it up from here. I love the way Robin bends those notes there. It's like he just twists them. We'll go back just before the second verse.
Like a wind that brings me down. If I don't move, I'm on the ground. It's in my mind, it's in my soul. It's telling me the things I can't be told. It says, what for the love? Living in the day of the eagle, not the dove.
Back to the riff and then the guitar solo. Very interesting tone for this guitar solo. It's very mid-rangey, a honky nasal tone. Not a very appealing tone all on its own, but I bet it was chosen for the way it lets the solo sit in the mix. It stands out and contrasts from the other guitar parts. These tones all start with microphone placement. Jeff Emmerich used 3 mics on the guitar amps. One close up to the speakers, one mic about 15 feet away, and a third microphone in between. And he could choose and blend together all 3 of those microphones. I'd bet that the rhythm guitar is primarily the close mic, whereas the guitar solo is mostly a blend of the 2 further away mics. Let's push the vocals back up again for this last verse.
Another day, another night. I wanna love, they wanna fight. I need the time, I've got to be alone. I've got to think it all alone. But what's for the love? Living in the day of the eagle, not the dove.
And now they're going to slow it down and change the whole feel of the song. Let's hear just the bass and drums for a little bit, and then we'll bring the guitar back up. can hear that they've overdubbed an overdriven, distorted guitar that takes over the solo here, while the cleaner guitar plays sparingly and quietly in the background. Robin Trower, Day of the Eagle. The Bridge of Sighs album was the record that gave Trower his big break, though he would always be more popular in the U.S. than in his home country of England. Reg Isidore would leave after this album, replaced by drummer Bill Lorden, but James Dewar would stick around for a whole bunch of records. For Earth Below, Long Misty Days, In City Dreams, Caravan to Midnight, Victims of the Fury. These were all good records, and great album titles, too. Though his profile diminished as tastes and trends changed in the 80s, record labels and bandmates would come and go, but Robin Trower has released new albums consistently in every decade, a solo career lasting over 50 years. Reg Isidore passed away in March 2009, heart attack. James Dewar suffered from a debilitating condition that caused him to have multiple strokes, eventually succumbing in May 2002. But at the time of this recording, Robin Trower is 80 years old, still with us, and still playing. I hope you enjoyed this journey across the Bridge of Sighs into the Day of the Eagle. New episodes of this podcast come out on the 1st and the 15th of every single month, so I'll be back here poking your eardrums again soon. You can catch up on any episodes that you missed on our website, lovethatsongpodcast.com, or of course you can find us in pretty much every podcast player. So wherever you like to listen to your podcast, I'm sure you'll find us there. And while you're there, leave a review of the show. And if you'd like to send me a comment, you can do it on our Facebook page or send an email to lovethatsongpodcast@gmail.com. To support the show, the absolute best thing you can do is to just share it with your friends. Tell someone about the show because your recommendations carry a lot of weight, and I appreciate it. On behalf of everyone here at the Pantheon Podcast Network, I thank you for listening. Now it's time to crank up your turntable, CD player, or the MP3 files, however you prefer to listen, and blast out Day of the Eagle by Robin Trower.